Okay, hello. I'm going to do the summary and synthesis for my family interview. Um, I interviewed my brother, and it was a lot of fun. He is coming to K State next year, and I'm really proud of him. And it was really good to talk to him before I started the interview and then interview him. He didn't know that I was interviewing him on anything specific. I just told him I needed to ask him a couple questions for a class. Um, and he didn't know that he was going to be recorded, which was kind of funny until the middle of the interview when I told him, because he had said something kind of snarky. I told him, like, hey, a lot of people are going to see this, and he was like, and started answering all of the questions in complete sentences and not sarcastically at all. It was really funny. He answered 9 questions just about our family. There were questions that I figured he would know. Some of them, I think like 2 of them he didn't know. But the questions that I asked him were like, what did you characterize the social class we grew up in? And one of my favorite answers that he said was to the question, how does your family view men and women's roles? And he was like, equal? And I was like, okay, can you like say anything else about that? And he was like, I mean, no, like, mom makes more money than dad, and saying stuff like that. So I just thought that was really funny. And then another one of the questions I asked him that I got a really good response from him was, what are some of your family traditions? And he was like, pray before bed. And I was like, is there anything else that you can think of? And he was like, not really. And I was like, all right. And yeah, so it was really good getting to talk to him. A couple other questions that I asked him was like, what earned you praise as a child? And then also, what got you shunned or shamed in your family? And him being the youngest, he was not shunned, not shamed, but just reprimanded the most because, he's a baby and like he doesn't have to do anything until he reaches a certain age where we decided, well, not we, my parents decided that he had to start doing things. And so when he realized that he had to start doing things is when he started getting reprimanded because he didn't want to do the things that I had been doing for years and my parents wanted him to do. So he talked a little bit about that, and just like, we camped when we were little, and one of the big parts about camping is loading and unloading the camper. And I remember being so frustrated with him because he wouldn't help unload the camper. When we got home, we were all tired. It would be Sunday evening, and we had to unload the camper and then get it off to storage. So we kind of had a time crunch. And I just remember him like hiding when we were little, hiding so that he didn't have to do things, and that kind of stuff. So he talked a lot about that too. And then a couple other questions that we talked about was explain our family's relationship to nature and animals, and he talked about camping and hunting and fishing. He loves to fish, so he talks about that too. And then one thing that he said, he's a senior in high school, I forgot to mention that, so he is not young. But I asked him, does our family believe in a higher power? He was like, is there any other higher power than God? And I was like, you're so right. So that was kind of funny. And I feel like these questions would have been answered a whole lot differently had I asked my dad or had I asked my mom. And I was most interested to hear what Michael had to say. So I'm happy that I asked him. And he, just gave me really good answers, really surprising answers, kind of. So I'll start my synthesis part now. So the first question is, how are the responses from your family members different or like your own? Really, Michael's answers were very similar to mine. I would have gone into more depth, and like I said, about halfway through the interview, I had told him that I was recording it, and he got a lot more scholarly, a lot more he took it seriously, but I didn't want him to do that because I wanted him to just tell me straightforward. I think the one thing that I wanted him to elaborate more on, and he didn't, was the family traditions. Just because, like, we have so many, I feel like. I mean, we go to church on Sundays, and that's a family tradition. We have chicken after church on Sundays, that's a family tradition. And just, like, everything that happens around the holidays, too, we haven't really changed what that has been. And we're starting new traditions all the time. One tradition that we started when I was a senior in high school was that the graduating senior got to pick where they went for spring break. And I chose Mexico, and my brother, since he's graduating, he chose Mexico as well. So we're kind of just going with, like, the Mexico theme, and then next year when I graduate, we will go to Mexico as well. So I thought that he would elaborate more on that and, like, really think about that, and he didn't, which is totally fine. But yeah, I thought there was a lot more than he had pointed out. The next question for the synthesis is, what did you learn about yourself from these interviews, and why do you think as you do? I think that I learned what I looked like as an older sister. You know, I wasn't always the nicest to Michael because he was my younger brother and I got to push him around sometimes. And another thing that I learned really about Michael, not necessarily about myself, is what a little young man he is, like, which is crazy to me, to think that he is, you know, he's still gonna be my little brother, but he's come to college, and I kind of realized how old I was, which is fine. I'm okay with being old, but I think that I also learned something about how I think. I am much more feeling oriented than my brother, so I love talking about feelings. I love getting in the feels, and he does not. And one thing that I kind of realized during then was, like, most of our family traditions, like with the family tradition example, most of our family traditions are kind of oriented around the feeling. They're around the feelings around being with each other. And Michael told me a lot, like, some of the traditions that we do independently, like pray before bed. So that was interesting, really interesting to me. And it reminded me that I sometimes get in the mindset that everyone thinks like I do, and that's not the case at all. And then for the third question, what impact might this have on you as a culturally responsive teacher? Just the fact of, like, knowing that other people don't think the way I do, as my brother. I think my brother and my relationship comes out of a lot of love, and I know that if I said something to hurt him, he would talk to me about that. However, as a teacher, if I say something that hurts my student, I might not be able to talk to them about that because they might not address me. And so I think having siblings and having people, especially in your family, that you can talk to, and that you learn those social norms of what to talk about and what you can't talk about, I think that's really helpful. And having a close family like my family does, I've learned a lot about how to talk to people and how to, like, treat people. I'm going to go back. Michael answered one of the questions that said, what did respect look like growing up, and, like, who taught you respect? And really one of those people was our neighbor, our neighbors and our nannies. My parents were around as much as they could be, but during the summer they wanted us to get out and go to the pool and go to golf and that kind of thing. And so we had people around us who weren't our parents that taught us respect. And that's not only respect for our elders and respect for people who are in more power than us, but respect for nature. I'll never forget the time that we went to the zoo and Michael missed a trash can on something, and my nanny was like, you better go pick that up, or, like, we're not coming back ever to the zoo. And of course we were in probably, I don't know, I was probably in 5th grade and he was probably in 3rd grade, and of course we were like, oh my gosh, like, we have to go pick that up. And so from then on, our nanny had us pick up trash with her on the highways. We just like adopted a highway for the summer, which was super cool and just really rewarding, and definitely a way that she taught us respect. And Michael had said that, and I never thought about it like that. I never thought that she'd taught us respect like that. Other than that, I think I've answered all the questions. So